Welcome into the Co-Lin Coaches Show. This is going to be our first show where we have multi-sports this week. We've got football and soccer coaches joining us. But first, we're going to start with football. And joining me right now is head coach Glenn Davis of the Co-Lin football team. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Coach, coming in 2-0 after a rousing win at home over Mississippi Delta. You beat them 34-7. Just talk about how you feel about the team played throughout that game.
Well, I thought we played good enough to win. And, that's, we were worried about a letdown going into the game after winning the East Mississippi game, and so all week we were pretty tough on them as far as getting after them in practice and that kind of stuff about not overlooking Mississippi Delta. And have to give Coach Johnson credit with his guys. He had them ready to play, and they played extremely hard.
And Coach, obviously, I think a lot of people would, if you looked at this one and you looked at the schedule, some people might call this one like a trap game. You had an unranked opponent in between two ranked opponents, and you start conference play coming up. But it seemed like the team was y'all had them really prepared. Team was ready for it. We'll talk about some of the impact players first of all. We talk about him every week so far. The quarterback Devon Todd, he came out. He was solid for you. 13 of 21, 226 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, and had 21 rushing yards on 7 attempts. Talk about his play.
Devon's been consistent, and each week, that's what we've got to have from him is consistent play, and because I think we have enough players around him that can make plays, and he just has to be able to distribute the football to wherever it's needed.
And we're going to look at some of those skill players as well, too. We'll start with your running back, Johnny Daniels. Had a big game, came up just short of a 100-yard game, had 93 yards on 15 carries and a touchdown. We'll talk about the touchdown a little bit later, but talk about how he performed.
Johnny played extremely well running the football, and probably some stats that won't show up is his pass protection. I thought he did a great job on pass protection and picking up blitzing linebackers, and those are things that usually don't get noticed. You see the flashy plays, but those pass protection plays were mighty big.
We're going to talk about a couple of the receivers as well too. We talked about Devon having 13 completions. 8 of those went to 2 different receivers. One of those being Carlos Martin. He had 4 catches for 100 yards, including a big 79-yard touchdown. We'll talk about that play in a little bit. And that one touchdown, as we mentioned, talk about how much of a difference maker he was.
Carlos has gotten better and better. He's a guy coming out of high school that only played 1 season of football. And so the 2 years that he's been here is kind of like been his 10th, 11th, and 12th grade seasons. And so he's gotten better and better each year. And, he's a tremendous athlete. He's a guy that has great speed. And, we just got to be able to get him to be consistent, and so we can take advantage of those things.
One of your other big impact players, another receiver, one of your bounce back guys, Dakota Thomas. He had 4 catches, 58 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Talk about his play and how much of a difference maker it was for y'all.
Dakota's, I think, is finally getting almost 100% healthy. He's had a hamstring issue all during camp, and I thought Thursday night was kind of indicative of some of the plays that he could make for us.
And then obviously, talk about the defense. I don't know if one individual kind of stood out, but defensively as a unit, it was just a solid game. You had 3 sacks, 5 pass breakups, 8 tackles for loss. Just talk about how the defensive unit played.
Yeah, they played extremely well. One of the stats that I talked to the team about last night is that we held them to like 17% third downs and conversion rate, and that, to me, that's mighty big. And you can win a lot of ball games when you hold teams to 17%.
I think on the stats we had them for about 200 yards of total offense. You're going to beat a lot of teams when you hold a team to that much offense throughout the game. Now we'll go towards the scoring. We'll talk about the game throughout it as well too. Delta gets the opening possession of the game, won the coin toss, but deferred, so Delta gets it. Defense holds strong, forces the punt. And we talked going into last week, you wanted to start fast and you wanted to start scoring early, and that's exactly what you did. You go down, you have an 11-play, 56-yard drive, and it's capped off by Johnny's 8-yard touchdown drive. Talk about that play.
Yeah, he actually scored a play or two before that, and I think we had a penalty, and we had actually put a kind of a new wrinkle in on one of our running game concepts, and it worked out, just kind of like we thought it would. And the big thing about Mississippi Delta, they were kind of unorthodox, and some of the things they did defensively, it was kind of like a lot of old high school stuff. There's 6-2 defense, and then they'd play a 5-2 defense, and they would run through backers, and so they were getting a 7 or 8 man front. So we were able to run the ball and against those fronts, and that was big. And like I say, that run that Johnny made was extremely good run off of that.
And PAT is good by Brandon Gillum. It makes it 7-0 with about 7.5 minutes to play. And I think the next play is something that in my time of watching football, I don't think I've ever seen it happen in watching or in real life. Kickoff, and Delta doesn't field the live ball. And so our guys take advantage of it, run down there. Shamari Carroll jumps on the ball at about the 9-yard line, so it gives you the ball right back. Just talk about that play and talk about just what the thought process was.
Well, I mean, the big thing about that play is the ball, once it crosses the goal line, it's a dead ball. It's kind of like the high school rule. We don't have to field it. But as long as it's in the field of play, it's a live ball, and that's kind of what happened. The ball hit and just kind of stopped, basically, within a yard or two of where it hit the ground, and we were able to get there and recover it.
Yeah, we were up in the press box watching it, and we were just kind of awestruck for a second. We were like, they're not going to field the ball. And we see our guys running down there like, well, that's our ball. And the next play, you score on it again. Dakota Thomas's first touchdown of the game, 9 yards out. One play, 9-yard drive. That's pretty efficient. Talk about that play.
Yeah, I mean, it was a smash concept, and Devon read the corner and corner bet on the hitch, and we were just able to throw the ball right over the top to Dakota, and he got both feet in bounds.
So another PAT by Gillum there. He gives you a 14-0 lead with 7:17 on the clock. I think if you look at the box score, it's literally 7 seconds in between touchdowns. Probably the two quickest touchdowns scored in a long, long time. But then the second quarter, there's no change in score throughout the rest of the play. It's still 14-0. You go into the second quarter, and you've got Delta pinned deep, deep into their territory. You had a punt that I believe was downed, a loss of yardage play, then a penalty, and they're on about the 6-yard line. Unfortunately, this is where Delta scores their only touchdown of the game, had a 94-yard touchdown reception. Sir Trotter for them gets behind the DB, and they were able to connect there, and he just was able to run away. But I think the good thing about all that, if there's a good thing to be said about it, is your team responded pretty much immediately. You go down, and you score on the next drive. It's not a touchdown, but it is a field goal. Brandon Gillum gets his first of 2 field goals. On a 6-play, 42-yard drive, he hit a 39-yard field goal. Showed confidence in your kicker, and it paid off. Talk about how Gillum performed throughout the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon's been nothing but consistent with his extra points and field goals since he's been here. And that to me, that's, anytime you feel like you can get points, we want to try to do that. Like I said last week, we've got to get more touchdowns instead of field goals. But, if we can score, it's a plus.
So you go up 17-7 with about 8:09 left. Delta gets the ball back. You force a punt, and you get the ball back with about 4.5 minutes left, and you drive down again. Drive kind of stalls out, but Gillum once again steps up, hits another field goal, this time from 22 yards out, and gives your team a lead 20-7. As time is expiring, that field goal was good as the horn went off. Talk about how you feel about going into halftime being up 20-7 at that point.
Well, I thought it was good. I thought we did a good job of right before half of getting points and kind of managing the clock and getting the ball in field goal range. And we thought we felt like we were in control of the game, and we haven't shot ourselves in the foot as much as we had maybe did it later in the game with some stuff. But I thought it was a good first half, and I was kind of proud of the way we came out.
And then obviously in the third quarter, you come out, you score again. It's kind of late. It was kind of back and forth there for a little bit. Neither team really could get anything going. But Dakota Thomas steps up, a 37-yard touchdown reception from Devon, closed out a 7-play, 80-yard drive. Just talk about that play.
Yeah, we kind of got them in zero coverage, and that was one of those plays I was talking about earlier where Johnny Daniels picking up the blitzing linebacker and giving Devon enough time to throw the ball, and Dakota wins on the route, and it was all the way around. It was a good offensive play for us. Something
that you didn't do the week before, you did this week. You scored in every quarter, because in the fourth quarter, Devon Tott hits Carlos Martin on, I believe, what looked to be like a deep out route. DB misses a tackle, and Carlos just takes off like he's shot out of a rocket. 79 yards later, touchdown.
Yeah, it was real similar to the pass that Dakota caught. Dakota's was a slot fade, and this was a corner route by the inside receiver, and he was able to catch that. And like I say, they mistimed the ball, and Carlos caught it and outran 2 guys to the end zone.
And so that PAT is good as well too. That gives you the 34-7 final score, but you still got about 11 minutes left in the game. I think one of the better things that's not seen in this game, if you're not looking at the box score, is the fact that you got I think almost every kid got to play. We got to see some of your backup quarterback, Will Loy, and some of those kids who hadn't got to play yet, but they got some playing time. How fun is it as a coach when you're able to get those guys in and get them some experience?
I mean, it's big. I mean, because every guy you have on the team is just one injury away from having his role changing, and we talk about those things all the time about everybody being prepared, watching the guy in front of them, learn from mistakes that somebody else makes, and we talk about all that, and so anytime they're able to go out and actually get their own reps, live reps, and not just be practice. It's very big.
And I think one more impact player we want to mention. We talked about a little bit about him already, but Brandon Gillum once again was perfect on the day, 6 for 6. I think so far on the season he's 11 for 11 on scoring opportunities. Just talk about how much of a weapon having a kicker that is that good is for this team.
Oh, it's big. I mean, it's like I mentioned earlier. When you feel good that you're going to get points every time he lines up. That's calms everybody down and gives the team confidence and that we're going to get something. And obviously I keep mentioning about scoring touchdowns. We got to do that, but it's you get points. It's always a positive.
I also did want to mention we talked about his 39-yard field goal. Went and looked it up. That's a career long for him. I think his longest before that was his freshman year. He played at East Central. He kicked a couple 38-yarders, but that was a career long 39-yard field goal back in the second quarter for him. But we'll turn to the next game. Up next, you open MACCC South Division play. You go down to Jones, who's coming off a loss to the team you beat in the first week, East Miss. What are you expecting out of the Bobcats?
Well, I mean, they're a well-coached football team. They play extremely hard. They're a team that's hard to beat at home. So we'll have to go and play our very best ball game, regardless of what happened to them last week against East Mississippi. They'll be better. We just got to make sure we're better also.
And that game will be at 7 o'clock on this upcoming Thursday at Sim Cooley Field on the campus of Jones. Coach, thanks for coming in today. That'll wrap up the football part of our show. Stay tuned after the break. We're going to talk to head women's and men's soccer coach Tom Cosgrave about the Lady Wolves and Wolves. Welcome back in. Joining me now is head women's and men's soccer coach Tom Cosgrave. Tom, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And Tom, we're going to start. We'll talk about this past Friday's matchup against Hines on the road. You opened up MACCC play. Women's soccer won 3-0. We'll call this one the Charlie Cooper game part 3 because she's already had 2 where she factored into all the goals. This time she scored all the goals, gets the hat trick for you. We'll start it off. The first one, she had that penalty kick in about the 36th minute. Talk about that goal.
Yeah, I thought Hines started the game really well. He made it difficult for us to break him down. We wanted to bring the intensity, which I thought the girls eventually did. They started to pick up as the game went on. We ended up getting a penalty midway through the first half, and we're always confident when Charlie steps up for a penalty. We're hoping that she's going to score it, and she hit the back of the net to get us started off on a 1-0 lead. And
so that lead holds through the horn sounded for halftime. You're up 1-0 at halftime. Talk about the feeling at halftime there. Just talk about the encouragement you gave your team to finish it out.
Yeah, we told the girls that they were doing the right things. They just has to be a little bit quicker. The quicker that we can move the ball, the less time the other team's got to set up defensively. And so we just challenged them to keep doing what they're doing, just at a faster pace, faster tempo, which we did that in the second half. We came out and started really strong. It
paid off early in the second half. First goal, Charlie scores. In the 56th minute, she gets an assist from Emmy Cook on that goal. Talk about that play.
Yeah, Emmy played a great ball through. She's been doing that all season. They've got a really good connection. They have a good friendship off the field, and I think that shows on the field as well. They always seem to know where each other are. And so it was a great ball by Emmy, and then Charlie finished it off for us to get the 2-0 lead.
That's 2-0 there, and then the final goal comes in the 77th minute. A name we haven't mentioned yet, Kaylee Roth gets the assist as Charlie finishes that one off. Talk about that goal.
Yeah, we made a slight change. We moved Kaylee into the midfield, just give her a little bit more of an advanced role for us in the second half. Thought she played really well there, did a job defensively for us, and then it allowed her to just play a few more forward passes, and it was a great ball in for Charlie to score the third.
And I think finished with a combined clean sheet, say combined, because Laura Dorfel and Maylee Thibodeau both got to play. I think the first shot on goal didn't come until about the 63rd minute. You always feel good when you're deep into the match before you give up one, but Laura saves that one. You bring Maylee in. She gets to play about 12 or 13 minutes, does face a couple of shots. Only one of those was on goal, and she saved it. Talk about the play of both your keepers during that one.
Yeah, they've been pushing each other really well throughout the season. Maylee's had a really good preseason camp. She's been, trying to close the gap on Lara as much as possible. I think that's made Lara into a better goalkeeper as well. And I'm glad that they both got the opportunity to play. Maylee's hopefully going to get to play some more as well throughout the season. And they've both been doing really well, yeah.
One thing we do want to mention, we do want to congratulate her. We've already done it. Laura Dorfel did win MACCC Goalie of the Week for that effort. So congratulations to her. We've posted that on social media. We hope everybody's seen it. We'll move on to the guys game, though. Guys come up a little bit short. You lose 2-0, but you had some opportunities early. You couldn't find the back of the net. It's 0-0 at halftime, though. Talk about your feelings through that first half.
Yeah, I thought the boys competed really well in the first half. It was always going to be a difficult task for us to go to Hines. They got a good team this year. They make it difficult for teams to break them down, and they've got a good counter-attacking style as well. And we told the boys that. I thought we prepped well. We started the first half really well. Kind of went how we wanted it to go. Obviously not quite finding the back of the net, but defensively we were pretty solid and dealt with their threat as well. I'm just a little bit disappointed to come away with 0-0 at halftime.
And then obviously in the second half, you give up 2 goals. One of those being an own goal. I think it clipped one of our defenders just like the top of his shoe and just kind of squirreled around Leo, unfortunately. And then the second one, we've talked about it several times now, just a world-class goal from them. I don't think you could have done anything to save that ball. But just talk about your feelings after the match. You go down 2-0, you lose 2-0. And I know I heard you talking to the guys saying that's not necessarily a bad result being on the road facing a team like that.
Yeah, we were missing a lot of key figures as well in that game as well. We had 6 or 7 injuries and suspensions that we had, so it was always going to be a tough task. And I told the boys, don't be disappointed in the performance, be disappointed in the result. We've been playing well for large amounts of games recently, but we've just not quite put all the pieces to the puzzle together yet and competed for 90 minutes. We've got to do a better job of staying in the game throughout the whole 90 minutes and not just 88 minutes.
And do want to mention Leo Summers did have 4 saves on the 6 shots that he saw throughout that match as well, too. So he played well. Like I said, just a couple of unfortunate little miscues there. We'll move on past those. You did play this past Tuesday at Gulf Coast. You continued conference play. The girls don't want to call it a disappointing draw, but you maybe feel a little bit disappointed because you did finish 1-1. But talk about that game.
Yeah, I thought we started really strong in the first half. We wanted the girls to come out with tempo, which they did. They did exactly how we, play exactly how we wanted them to in the first 45 minutes. It was a tough physical game. Don't get me wrong. It was a battle out there for 90 minutes. Gulf Coast is always going to be a tough place to go on the road that far away, with some talented players as well. So it was difficult. And we were holding on there at the end for the last 10 minutes. I thought we were going to sneak out with a win, which would have been a great 3 points. But I told the girls, a 1 point on the road away against a tough team like Gulf Coast, we'll take it at this point of the season.
We do want to talk about the goal. Again, Charlie scores early, about the 4th minute, gets an assist from Lisa. Just talk about the goal there. Yeah,
we won the ball in the midfield really well. That was one of the areas that we wanted to focus on in that game, winning the ball in the central areas and counter-attacking. I thought we'd done a great job of that. Madison Crane won the ball back, started a counter-attack for us. Avery hit a shot from the left-hand side. It went all the way through everybody, and then Lisa pulled it back across to the middle, and luckily Charlie was there in the middle to finish it off for us.
And that lead did hold 1-0 at halftime, and then like we said, I believe it was about the 86th minute when Gulf Coast unfortunately tied it. Just ball kind of carried them throughout the box, and it unfortunately just got past Laura. I believe Laura did have 10 saves, though, throughout the match. Just talk about how she played throughout that match.
Yeah, the last 20 minutes or so, we had a few injuries and we were rotating through, and there was a couple of stoppages that we had to kind of make adjustments in the game with players playing at opposition to try and hold that 1-0 lead. I thought we'd done a great job of absorbing the pressure for as long as we could. She made some really, really good saves to keep us in the game, and then unfortunately, obviously in the last 2 to 3 minutes of the game, they got the breakthrough to equalise.
So that one finishes 1-1. You still get the point, and a very important point at this point in the season. Unfortunately, the guys, that one not as close. Guys go down 4-1. Gulf Coast scores 2 goals in the first half. You had a couple of chances that maybe could have squeaked by the goalkeeper again, just couldn't find the back of the net, unfortunately. But talk about how the guys played throughout that game.
Yeah, I spoke to him at halftime. I broke it up into two halves. I thought the first 20, 25 minutes of the game, they were excellent. They were pressing really well. They were competing. They were fighting for balls. But similar to what the story's been all season so far, we've got to score goals in order to win games. And then on the opposite side, defensively, we can't switch off. We're playing really well for large spurts of the game and then just switching off for a minute or two. And that's just costing us. The other teams are capitalizing on our mistakes.
So you come back out in the second half. Gulf Coast adds another 2 in that half. You do get one goal late in the match, a name we haven't mentioned yet this year. Benjamin McKenna gets a rebound off a shot, falls right at his feet, and he just basically puts it back in. Goalkeeper can't get his fingers on it. Just talk about that goal.
Yeah, we spoke to the boys at halftime. We said, we need to compete. There's a lot of boys that are hungry to get on and get playing time. And, Ben's one of those players that hasn't got much playing time right now. But I thought he did well when he came on and he took his opportunity when it came to him. Cooper had a good shot, keeper spilled it, and Ben was in the right place at the right time to tap it in. And
then we'll talk about the play of Leo as well again. He had 8 saves on 12 shots on goal. So statistically played a really good match. But just talk about how he played throughout that match.
Yeah, he's been a leader for us back there. It's difficult whenever we're making silly mistakes and you can't do much about it because it's obviously frustrating as a goalkeeper whenever you're conceding goals. But like I said before, we've just got to do a better job of staying switched on for the whole game. We're giving away far too many cheap, easy goals and giving the other teams too many opportunities and chances to score on us.
And then up next, we're going to talk about the next match. The season beginning road trip is finally over. We finally get to play at home, get to play the friendly confines of Stone Stadium, and you welcome East Miss, a team that is just starting back this year. Kind of a hard luck right now going through the season, but what are you expecting out of those matchups? We'll start with the girls matchup.
Yeah, I definitely feel for them. I got a kind of bit of a soft spot for what they're going through right now because this was us in the 2019-20 season, starting back a program and trying to find your feet in a tough conference. It's never easy to start in this conference. So we're expecting the girls to just make sure we're coming out and just play the way we've been doing, make sure we get the basics right and stick to our game plan and hopefully execute it the way we want it to and have a successful game.
And obviously with the guys matchup, I know you and I have talked away from the cameras and everything, and I know you've said their guys have shown some good moments in matches, but what are you expecting out of that matchup?
Yeah, we're hoping that we can break our goal drought. We need some goals on the attacking side. Some of our strikers are going for a bit of a goal drought right now. So, if we can get 1 or 2 goals for some of them, then I'll be happy pleased. And hopefully that's our turnaround, our little confidence booster for the season. But not taking away from East Mississippi, it's not going to be an easy game. They're not going to turn up here and just roll over and let us take the win. So we've got to make sure that we're doing the basics right and making sure we're executing our game plan.
All right. That'll wrap up the show this week. As a reminder to finish out the week, the Wolves football team will be on the road at Jones on Thursday, kickoff at 7 p.m., and then we'll have Lady Wolves and Wolves soccer at home against East Miss at 1-3. I'm Kevin Kaiser, Sports Information Coordinator for Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in this week.